Good morning, everyone. So far, the market is pretty mixed this morning. Futures gapped up a tiny bit, but the major indices have not done really anything since futures opened. We have the S&P 500 up around 0.2% to start the week. We do have a lot of stocks shifting to the red, though, Tom. Some of these major tech stocks like Apple and even Tesla are definitely taking a hit. It's definitely important to, I guess you can say note when you see some of these plays like Apple down 2% right from market open, because that's a pretty decent gap down, especially for a company like Apple.
Yeah, it really is. That pre-market was pretty bad for them. They fell below 154 and just really sold off. Looks like they are getting some nice momentum back to the upside here at open, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, Mike. They're going to have to really recover back up here to get back in the green today. It could definitely happen, but we've definitely been seeing the market turn back around, so maybe we'll see that happen, but I don't know, Mike. It was definitely a big sell-off, and we're even seeing some bigger oil plays down, believe it or not. I can't believe that oil started gapping down last night. It seems like that whenever everybody started buying it, oil just said, nope, see you later, and started going right back to the downside.
Yeah, let's check in on those futures. Yeah, they've been slowly fading off, which is pretty interesting. At the same time, we have, some of these whales like Warren Buffett putting in billions of dollars into stocks like OXY, and I know Carl Icahn actually increased his offer on Southwest Gas, which is SWX, and that one's booming up a little bit right now. So, it's interesting because we see smart money kind of getting into oil, but at the same time, futures are calming down a little bit. So I thought that was interesting. How are some of the wheat plays doing? Because I remember just 2 weeks ago, Tom, we had wheat futures going crazy, and it looks like even those are calming down a bit.
Yeah, they are. Even if we look at the 180-day, 1-hour chart, you can see over the past few days how it's really been pulling back to the downside a little bit. We're definitely coming back down. Wheat prices are a little bit crazy here. We're at 1071 right now, but it's definitely down a lot from the highs of 1363 up there. So that's big. I know that corn has also been going crazy, Mike, and /ZC is holding up a little bit better than wheat is. It looks like corn is actually holding its ground, believe it or not. Maybe Cornish will be happy about that, but either way, though, the corn is definitely holding its ground, Mike. It looks like today corn is kind of back on the uptrend here at market open, but we'll have to see if these commodities keep booming or not, because this week I think is going to be pretty crucial, Mike. I know that Russia is still in Ukraine, and that whole situation is not over yet by any means. And we kind of talked about this in private, but it's starting to seem like the calm before the storm. We haven't really seen too much headlines over the past week, but I have a weird feeling we might start to see some stuff roll in here soon.
Yeah, we'll see. And these poor growth stocks, too. Looking at some of these plays like DraftKings or Zoom, maybe Palantir, Netflix, stocks like that, even they're continuing to, I guess you can say, fall off the board. They're even struggling. I remember the last time, I would say maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago at this point, the growth stocks were actually going up while we were seeing some of the other tech stocks fall down. So we will see.
Yeah, we definitely will. And Lucid's down 4%. The EV sector is getting hit really hard, Mike. And I'll tell you what, these China plays just continue to get destroyed. BABA gapped down again this morning, another 9%. They're all the way down to $78 now. It's getting really crazy with the China plays, Mike. BABA's down this much. We have Baidu down 12% now. Look at the red day that Baidu had on Friday, and then the gap down today. They're really starting to break below that major support they had posted there around 135. So not looking good for them. And even Rivian, Mike, is down a lot today. So the China plays and the EV plays are getting hit especially hard.
Yeah, very true. Some stocks that are kind of holding up, Tom, we have Facebook almost up 1% today. We're getting there, but that at least has good momentum. It's not like it's just slowly, barely in the green, but it's actually having good momentum to the upside, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's not looking bad, actually. This is some pretty nice movement, Mike. Like you said, it's only up 1.2%, but the movement's definitely there. And, Facebook has a long way to recover. I'd love to see Facebook come back up and maybe retest $200 this week. I think that would make for some amazing movement out of stocks, especially the social media companies like Facebook. I wonder if like Twitter and Snapchat are coming back up today. It looks like Twitter isn't doing much and Snapchat is actually in the red. So good thing Facebook's outperforming them, Mike. I know Facebook has definitely been on the downtrend a lot lately, and I know they just made that low there on Friday. So hopefully we continue up this morning. It's definitely looking pretty good. And other stocks on my watch list that are up, Mike, are some of these credit card companies like MasterCard, Visa. These are also turning back to the upside. I even saw the banks were up quite a bit today, like Bank of America.
Actually, Zoom just turned over too. Awesome. There we go. So now that's in the green too. So how's like the SPY looking considering that we're seeing some of these plays shift over? Bad.
Yeah, it's still looking terrible. It's not doing much today. Still, we're approaching that low of 420, which we hit on Friday at market close. So maybe we'll hold around 420, Mike. But yeah, I mean, these stocks seem like they're turning back into the green. So I'd hope to see the industry turn around soon. But I guess there's just so much selling pressure still hitting the market here.
Yeah, I want to see what is leading the market to the downside right now. To me, it looks like the bank stocks are doing very well. You know, they're holding strong. Bank of America, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Schwab, stuff like that. They're all holding fine. But it looks like the biggest influence, especially to the downside, is Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia for the S&P 500.
Yeah, it's definitely not looking good for those ones. Tesla's down a lot. Like you mentioned, Nvidia is really starting to sell off here. I mean, it's not as explosive as it was on Friday, but still, though, you're down 2%, and it's just continuing to get worse. AMD's not looking good either. They're almost back down to $100 even. So, yeah, these tech plays are definitely falling off, Mike. And Apple's chart was still looking pretty scary there. I mean, I know that they tried to pop back up here at market open, but either way, I mean, the way they fell down in pre-market just has me a little bit worried. You know, I'm not sure they'll be able to get back up into the green today. Although if there's any stock that could do it, I hope Apple would. But in the end, though, you know, that's going to be a big recovery for Apple to get all the way back up into the green around 155.
Yeah. Looking at some other plays just for a second, Tom. I know a bunch of people look at these chip stocks like AMD, Nvidia, MU, and stuff like that. How are like AMD and Nvidia doing? Because I know that they've kind of been all over the place lately.
Yeah, they're actually starting to go down in a pretty big way. You know, Friday, these chip stocks had a big move to the downside, and it looks like that move is kind of continuing today. You know, Nvidia is really starting to sell off. I know that they, over the past couple minutes, you know, they're coming back up on this green candle, but overall, they broke down today in a major way. Nvidia broke below 220, which we might be able to use as a good resistance now, but 220 was a good support till we broke it. And as far as support goes on Nvidia, we're going to be approaching 210, and then we have 215 as well. So we do have some big levels coming up, Mike, and hopefully we see a nice bounce. But you're right. I mean, the tech plays, I think, are just leading the market down today, whether it's AMD, Nvidia, or anything like that. We're seeing those stocks down, and I know even the other chip plays like Qualcomm, for example, have a big red candle today, down 3.2%. It seems like this one's like really leading the way.
Interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. So I'll definitely keep my eye on those chip plays. MU's, struggling as well. So we will see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully they start to do better. You know, I know a lot of people have been buying into some of these ones, and I know that we've been a little bit bearish on it, Mike. But in the end, though, I feel like they'll start to do better over the next couple of years. But, you know, like looking at like AMD, Mike, like on the daily chart, we're approaching $100 again, and AMD's had like 3 or 4 bounces right off of $100 even, or really close to it. So I'm pretty worried here. You know, it kind of looks like if we break this, we might start to have a pretty accelerated sell-off there.
True. Yeah, I agree. So on a different note, Tom, there's this one stock that I have not been trading, but I've been looking at for months, and it's Moderna. This stock went from basically $500 all the way down to like 140, which is what it's at right now. I guess you could say 150, but this stock fell off a cliff. And it looks like it's rebounding now, like it's up 8%, but I just wanted to bring it up because Moderna was, I guess you can say, was such a crazy stock last year, but ever since it fell off, I feel like I have not heard about it once. Like, actually, I want to test something. I want to see the last time someone mentioned Moderna in the Discord really quickly. Let's see. Moderna, besides one of the bots, I can't find anything. It's been the bot the whole time. So the main point is that no one's talking about it anymore.
Yeah, it's really out of the headlines, and like you said, it's up 8%, almost up to 10% today. Like on the intraday chart, it's starting to really run up, and we've had some pretty explosive movement the past week or so out of Moderna. So this is definitely a good one to throw on the radar, Mike. I know Pfizer has been another one that hasn't been doing much, and it's also on the uptrend. Like Pfizer had been falling down a lot as well, and look at the way they've been recovering, actually up to $51 now from that low of 45. So yeah, maybe these like vaccine stocks, Mike, will start to go back on the uptrend here. I know that like Moderna and Pfizer, they don't always move together, but sometimes they move in sympathy, and it looks like they're both starting to rip. But man, Moderna, they might hit 10% soon, Mike. I mean, it's starting to get really explosive, and I haven't really seen too much news come across lately, but I'll definitely have to look into this because I know Moderna moves a lot with all these different things coming out, like with the FDA and just other stuff with vaccines and different medicines. So they're definitely news driven. So hopefully we see some good news.
Yeah. Alrighty. And then we have Troy saying MULN is getting ready to rip. Take a look. Let's see. MULN. Never heard of this one. It's up like 45%. I mean, it's running up in a nice way today, but over the past couple months, it's been brutal. I don't really know anything about this company, but if you're in it, I hope it pops for you.
Yeah, I really hope it goes up. I don't know anything about it. Let us know in the comments what it is. You know, it seems like it might be some type of EV company or something like that. Mullen Automotive. It definitely sounds interesting, Mike. But, you know, if it is an EV company, I'm going to be a little bit worried because, you know, if we look at the other EV stocks today, man, Lucid is down a lot. We have Rivian starting to really sell off. So, you know, as we all have known, you know, it's going to be tough for these EV companies in the beginning. So if that is an EV stock, be careful with it.
Yeah, it looks like it is, Tom. It's a, let's see, EV stock. It also has to do with the car dealerships and stuff like that in California and Arizona. They definitely seem like a smaller company. Yeah, I mean, I hope it pops for you. It's not really a play for us. So good luck with that one. I mean, it's looking decent right now. You know, it's just not really for me.
Yeah, it has a lot of momentum. I mean, it's not every day you see stocks up 43%. So, you know, it can definitely make for some good day trades.
For sure. So, Tom, it looks like Zoom is actually back above that $100 level, and it's actually leading my watch list. It's up 3%. It's looking pretty good, and it's good to finally see this. It's just like every day with Zoom, DraftKings, Disney, Square, and Penn. It's just like every day red, you know? So it's good to see some green sprinkled in there, finally.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that. And like you bad downtrend, I'm happy to see it coming up. Hopefully this continues, Mike. What do you think the over-under is that we stay above $100 today?
Gosh. I would like to think that it's favorited today. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I hope it's favorited too, man. We need it to hold up. It's been a crazy downtrend, but yeah, I'm glad to see it up above $100 too. I'm even seeing some other growth plays starting to get back in the green today. Look at Peloton. It has a similar chart coming back to the upside. I mean, I know that there's no you know, Peloton has a long way to go back to the recovery, but you know, hopefully we see them start to going up with the growth stocks as well. Also, Fastly was doing pretty good today. I saw they were starting to recover back a little bit. So yeah, it's nice to see these growth plays coming back. Even DraftKings, Mike, is starting to get at least a green candle here. So maybe we'll start to see DraftKings maybe come back up to around maybe $17 or $18 today.
Oh, gosh. It's about time. I mean, it's been, 6 red days so far in a row? Oh, gosh. I think it is 6, almost 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it's almost 8. Gosh. All right, well, it is good to see this green day. Stocks are coming back, though. Zoom's now up almost 4%. Facebook 2%. Upwork's in the green. DraftKings. Good stuff. And then I just want to check something really quickly. Yeah, the market itself is also coming back a little bit, Tom. Like, check out the SPY.
Yeah, look at that nice green candle on the 5-minute. It's almost back up to the price of market open today. So, yeah, definitely getting really close to that there. It might be above open price actually, or it's really close. But either way, I mean, it's coming back up. I'm glad to see it bouncing. And honestly, whenever we first started seeing all these stocks turn around, I was kind of expecting the SPY to get more momentum than it had. But I hope it still keeps coming up like this, Mike. To me, one of my favorite things I saw today were the bank stocks doing well. I think that the fact that Bank of America is doing well, JP Morgan's doing well today, I think that's a really good sign for the overall market. And like you even said, as long as tech keeps ripping back, I mean, we're set up to have a pretty nice day as long as these banks keep holding up.
Yeah. And then Sean said, I'll take the over on $100 on Zoom. Let's go. Yeah, I'm with you. It's been pretty brutal lately, but they're a great company that continues to grow their revenue and beat estimates every single quarter. And they are one of, I guess you could say, they are the leader in online video conferencing. They're not one of the leaders, they are the leader. So I like them. The industry they're in is growing. Solid company. They're profitable. They're in a much better fundamental position than almost all of these other growth stocks. So I think it's looking pretty good. And then Sean, I know you mentioned you had that call debit spread on Zoom for this week. I'm not sure if you're still holding it, but if you are, what we're seeing right now is the exact setup we were talking about last week when you asked the question. The bounce off of the $100 support and then hopefully a pop back up to your strike price. That could be great. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about. So hopefully that setup plays out, especially if you're still holding that spread.
Yeah, definitely. It's looking pretty good today, so hopefully we see it continue. And I'll tell you what, if we keep having these nice days out of Zoom, maybe we'll be back up around that 110 resistance sometime soon. I know that was a pretty big level that we fell below last week, so maybe we'll be right back up there. I think that would make for some nice movement. And to be honest, Mike, over the next couple of weeks, I feel like we could move possibly even higher than 110 if we do start to get some good momentum. So hopefully we see that momentum start to come through. But I had to bring up one more stock, Mike, and this morning I just had to, I look at my watch list and it just made me shake my head when I saw this stock back in the red again, and it's good old AMC. AMC tanked all the way down to $12.90 today, Mike. Look at this on the daily chart. We're starting to really break below some of these major supports. And I know we just retested that bottom support down there around 13 or got really close, but either way, this stock is right on a big level and it looks like it's selling off in a major way. Look at the way this thing broke down today at market open. That was a pretty bad sell-off there, and it's getting really worrisome for these stocks like AMC, GameStop, stuff like that. I know GameStop has earnings this week, but even look at GameStop. They are starting to turn over in a major way. I'm not trying to depress anybody who's still holding these, but man, I mean, where's that $500 a share at, Mike? I mean, yeah. Come on.
Yeah. I think that now it's officially game over for AMC and GameStop. Sure, they can pop up at some point, but I feel like it's very unlikely, especially at this point, for a short squeeze. AMC can pop up for, other news, but in terms of the short squeeze play that everyone was talking about, Tom, think about the position these funds are in now. They probably shorted AMC at 50, 55, 60, maybe 70, and they were doing all these hedging strategies along the way, and it played out perfectly for them. It was a slow fade down. And that's basically exactly what they wanted, especially the market makers on AMC who were selling all of these extremely overpriced options. So, it's at this point, it's I just feel like it's the short squeeze is not happening, specifically because these hedge funds are in great positions now.
Yeah, exactly. And then even the overall sentiment on AMC has went down a lot. I know a lot of traders have been selling out of positions and taking losses and stuff like that, and it sucks to see, but that's I guess that's what happens. It was an unfortunate situation with how AMC and GameStop played out. I feel I will say I feel sympathy for a lot of new traders, Mike. I'll be honest, let's say it was our first month ever getting into the market, Mike, and then we saw AMC and GameStop going crazy like they did. I mean, I'll be honest, in my first couple months, I probably would have bought it too. It's just I feel really bad. The way the news was hyping it up and the way everybody was on Wall Street Bets talking about it and influencing everyone to just dump their like life savings into it. I just thought it was insane, and I really do. I have a lot of sympathy for a lot of traders for this one because I really do feel like it's not totally their fault. I know that obviously everyone has to make their own decision, and in the end, it's your own decision. But I feel like there was just so much outside influence trying to get people to buy these that I just really feel bad for a lot of traders who, especially new ones who got into this, especially if it's their first stock. Like, could you imagine this being your very first trade? Like, you'd probably hate the market forever after that.
Yeah, it's true. Live and learn, Tom. Everyone makes dumb decisions, but it's all about bouncing back from them. So live and learn. But yeah, these stocks are definitely getting destroyed, as a lot of other stocks are, to be honest. Like a ton of other stocks are slowly trading lower. But Tom, like you already said, like it's actually kind of setting up to be a good day for a lot of these stocks. DraftKings is in the green, Zoom, Facebook, Amazon, Spotify, AI. It's not looking bad.
Yeah, it's really not. It's looking pretty good. We are having a nice green day today so far. Hopefully it continues. I know some stocks are selling off, but for the most part, I'm seeing some nice movement. Some of my favorites today, Mike, that I've been seeing on the watch list are the airlines. They're also coming back today in a pretty nice way. At market open, they sold off, but it looks like they're kind of ripping back here as the market looks like it found some momentum to the upside. So hopefully we keep seeing like American rip up. Delta's coming back, which is nice. And even some of these like weird space plays, Mike, like Rocket Lab are, up 2.3% today. I know this one's not anything crazy, but it can definitely start to run if it gets some momentum.
Yep. Alrighty. Let's see. Just doing a quick scan to see some of the hot plays for today. Moderna's still running up, and it looks like Starbucks is moving in a decent way. Tom, are you watching any stocks specifically, or what do you think about this movement?
Wow, Moderna up 15%, Mike. They're all the way up to 160.66 now, 16%. This one's really running. If you guys are looking for momentum today, seems like Moderna is definitely the stock to have it. I'm still eyeing up these credit cards, Mike. I know I have talked about them a little bit earlier, but they are continuing up today as well. MasterCard's now up 3.5%. Visa's almost up 3%, and Visa actually really broke out above $200, which was a big resistance from last week. So Visa's moving up in a good way above resistance, which is nice to see. Would have been a nice little breakout right there if we would have seen that live. But yeah, it's looking pretty good today for these credit cards. Like you mentioned, Mike, the banks were also doing good. JP Morgan had a pretty good day. It's still coming up. So I feel like the banks could continue, Mike. JP Morgan's at pre-market highs. I feel like they could start to get up towards like those Friday levels, maybe around like 132 or 133.
Awesome. Alrighty, so I'm just doing a quick scan again to see what we have moving. Even Pfizer's coming back up in a decent way. I am seeing these vaccine stocks looking pretty good, which I guess you don't see that every day. But yeah, those are the main movers I'm seeing on some of my screeners. It looks like Johnson & Johnson is also looking pretty decent. This one's up almost 2%, and it's a pretty big day for like a value stock like J&J.
Yeah, it is. They actually have a big resistance coming up around like 173, so that might be a nice like level to look at for today and tomorrow. Maybe play like a nice break above that. But yeah, J&J is looking pretty good, Mike. It's definitely extending up. It's crazy to see these vaccine stocks starting to rise. I wonder if there's any like upticks in COVID cases or something weird like that. I'll definitely have to keep my eyes on that news because they are all kind of running at the same time, which is interesting.
Yeah, I know. Here, let me just go to the news tab on TOS because I did know that there was a pretty big outbreak in China lately. So I know that's kind of one of the reasons why the China stocks are falling. Of course, there are other reasons as to why they are falling. I know there was a lot of fear of delisting and all that stuff with a lot of these China stocks, but of course like outbreaks like that do not help. But yeah, I don't know, Tom. I'm also kind of thinking about if it's like shorts covering. Like if we look at Moderna really quickly, the stock fell from basically 500 down to like 140 or 150. Like part of me really wonders, like, all right, are shorts just covering right now, you know?
Yeah, that could definitely be the case because we have a long way back up. It's not like we're talking about Moderna being back at 250 or anything like that. So while we are up, 15%, have a day Moderna, I mean, we're still down a lot from $500 at the high there. We're only at 160. We're only barely off the lows if you're counting all the moves back up to the high. So, I mean, to me, it's still a nice move today, which is great. I'm not sure that it's totally out of the out of the dumpster yet, Mike. I really think that they need some renewed momentum here. The thing I did like, Mike, was their last earnings report. I thought it showed some pretty good growth, but then the stock just continued to move lower over those next couple of weeks. So to me, I mean, hopefully it moves up. I know that Moderna and Pfizer have been making I'm not going to say that Pfizer's been making more money than usual, but Moderna got a lot of help from that vaccine. So hopefully we see that actually start to play out with their stock price soon. And like you said, Pfizer's having a nice day, up 3.6%. I do feel like that stuff over there in China might be playing a role, Mike, because they're all moving up at once. And, like you mentioned, these China stocks are also just getting destroyed, like BABA down 7.5%. Like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And I actually saw JP Morgan downgrade BABA today, lowered their price target to $65. So that's pretty big to see JP Morgan downgrade them that much.
Yeah, true that. And then another play I'm looking at is Exxon Mobil right now. It is breaking off to the downside. It looks like it's about to retest that support right at 80.
Wow, this one really fell off the table, Mike. I mean, wow, it's down a lot. I can't believe we're saying that Exxon's down that much. And it seems like ever since the beginning of last week, Mike, oil has just been not doing anything or just consolidating a lot. And it's definitely crazy because I feel like a lot of people started to buy in right whenever oil started going down. And we've even seen people like Warren Buffett, Mike, like buying into Oxy up here at the top. I saw that even over the weekend, he put another 1.5 billion into this. So that's insane to see that it just keeps selling off to the downside like this. But who knows? Maybe he knows something we don't, and maybe Russia will make the market go crazy here. But, it's crazy to see how it's going down right after these big players started buying in.
Yeah. Very true. What else do we have moving? Qualcomm's fallen lower. Let's see. I'm just looking at a couple different plays. Starbucks is breaking down as well. Tom, I know the other week we were talking about Starbucks a little bit, and you mentioned maybe buying the dip on this one. Are you still looking at this one for a long-term play?
Yeah, I am. It's continuing to go lower here, but I would say for the longer term, I think it's still a decent company. Like if we look at their fundamentals and stuff, they've been doing very well over the past few years. They had a pretty good recovery with COVID. I will say they definitely been giving the gains back though. We're all the way back down to $80. But the thing is, it's also not just Starbucks. There's been a lot of companies going down, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. I know that those aren't in Starbucks' sector, but to be honest, Starbucks is just, there's not too many other companies out there like Starbucks. They're a pretty big player in their sector and what they do. I feel like they'll do good, Mike. I can't believe the sell-off is getting this rapid with them. But I will say, for the longer term, I'll definitely look at adding a position. And with them coming down to 80, I mean, it makes me almost even happier to buy it. I'm getting it at even more of a discount now, and I'm definitely going to keep it on the radar. Probably sell an 80 strike put this week.
There we go. All right. So then we have Head saying, what do you think about Eric? ERIC. He said that he thinks it will be above $9.50 a share by the middle of April. So right now it's at like $8.72. So you're kind of close to the money. I guess kind of. ERIC is a Swedish multinational networking and telecommunications company. So that's interesting. I also know that they have a little bit to do with 5G. I don't really follow this stock too much, but hopefully it pops up for you. IV's high, so if you are playing options, I really hope you are doing a spread or something to combat that high IV. And it also looks like earnings are coming up too, Tom.
Yeah, they are actually. It looks like the earnings will be coming out sometime around like March 14th, I think. That's at least what I'm seeing on Thinkorswim. So hopefully it's right around then. But yeah, I hope they do better, Mike. That sell-off recently was pretty rapid with ERIC. I don't know what happened to them, but they fell from like $13 all the way down to $7.57. Like that's a pretty big drop here, Mike. Like I don't know what happened, but that's definitely a scary thing to see on the chart.
Yeah, no doubt. Like even look at their long-term chart for a second. Like it is kind of scary.
Yeah, let's see the max daily. Oh wow, yeah. I mean, it's been all over the place. If you would have been happy if you had it in 2017 or 2018, but with the way they just gave that gain right back, I mean, that's pretty telling there. I can't believe they fell all the way back down to 750 like that. But I will say, this stock could end up popping back up. Like you said, they're in a good sector, so hopefully they do end up going up long term. It's just, man, short term, that was a crazy move.
Yeah. Head said that he got in on it on Friday. He said there are lots of large call options for ERIC. Just one thing to keep in mind, lots of large call options can be an extremely bearish signal depending on what the smart money is doing. For example, a lot of times these institutions short options more than they long options for a variety of reasons, but part of it is because there is a pretty nice edge in shorting options. But anyways, let's say the smart money got, 30,000 9-strike calls or 30,000 10-strike calls. They can easily be shorting those call options, wanting the stock price to do nothing, just be stagnant or go down. Or what they could also be doing is they could short a ton of out-of-the-money call options and then buy some shares to delta hedge themselves. And then essentially they don't care which way the stock goes. They're just taking advantage of the expensive option. So just keep that in mind. And if you know the exact strikes and expirations of these smart money's play, I can probably take a quick look at them. But analyzing smart money activity is a pretty in-depth process. So obviously I can't do the full thing, within a couple minutes. But yeah. Tom, do you have any input with this?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's involved with that, Mike. And like whenever you go back and you're looking at stuff, you have to compare other strikes as well to maybe make sure that they weren't entering a spread like you mentioned or covering themselves, doing certain stuff. So there's definitely lots of stuff to look at with it. And like you said, it's very, very in depth. But as far as Ericsson goes, it looks like it keeps running up today, Mike. It definitely has that nice momentum. But yeah, kind of like what Mike said, just keep in mind they could be shorting those calls. And I will say, Mike, the amount of times that we've noticed that the big players are shorting calls seems like it's staggering. I feel like we see them shorted almost as much as we see them long it. I don't have the exact statistics, but just from looking back in history, I've noticed a lot of big money shorting those calls there. And how could you blame them? Whenever you have IV at 86%, I mean, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, exactly. When you have IV at 86%. True. So let's see. He said the 9-strike calls for April 14th. Let's see. He said nearly 1 million. Yeah, I mean, I definitely see what you're saying. Let me check one other thing really quickly.
What was the strike? The 9-strike?
Yeah, it's the 9-strike for April 14th on Eric. I just want to test a couple things just to see. All right. Let's see. Trying to see if there's any notable spreads that this could be a part of. I'm not seeing anything right now, but then again, this is just a quick little analysis. But yeah, I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean, Head. They definitely bought a lot of or they didn't buy, they traded a lot of call options there. We don't know if they bought or sold those ones. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. It looks like 40K and 9-strike. I'm just trying to see if there was anything else. Let's see. What can be happening here is, let's say they took these 40,000 call options. In scenario A, they might just be longing these call options as a speculative trade, which I personally don't think that is what's happening because of the high IV, but I can be wrong. It just wouldn't really make too much sense to buy those calls. Another option, option B, would be that they are short those calls and then they bought some shares to delta hedge, which is another real possibility. They're essentially shorting implied volatility. Another option is that they've already had shares and these are covered calls and they're just using this high IV to collect premium. And then, of course, another scenario is if this leg is a part of a bigger spread that we don't know about.
Yeah, that would be huge if they had covered calls and they were selling 40,000 40,000 covered calls there. That'd be big for them,
Yeah.
especially with that IV right now. Could you imagine being a shareholder of this, taking advantage of that? Like that would be huge considering the way IVs went up the past few months. So I would definitely think it, in my opinion, Mike, I'm not sure, obviously we can't be 100%, but I would think that they might be shorting those, but I don't know. If we see the stock continue up, it would be a pretty big thing for those calls. So hopefully it continues up for you ahead. I hope that it plays out. But either way, I mean, good find. That's awesome to see that. We can throw this on the radar, Mike, and I'm actually going to add this to my watch list just because we talked about it. Now I'm interested.
Yep, there we go. So I'm actually seeing another one of these vaccine plays, Tom, moving up. BNTX. It's up almost 15%.
Yeah, BioNTech. We don't talk about this one a lot, but it's up a lot. Yeah, that's nice to see. It seems like Moderna, this company, they're really running up. And look at BioNTech on the daily chart. It has a very similar chart to Moderna, Mike. Kind of like what you mentioned. Moderna got close to $500. Even BNTX was close to 500, and now it's all the way down around like 155. It's pretty crazy to see how BNTX and Moderna's charts are so similar, but either way, I mean, they're definitely ripping back up today, Mike. That's a huge move back up, and even Moderna is holding its ground. So nice to see out of this. And I know that BioNTech is pretty big. Like I know that I've been seeing a lot of stuff with them, especially over there in Europe.
All right, good to know. But yeah, Tom, we basically covered all of the major movers so far. Are you watching anything specifically? Do you have any favorite setups? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite setups today, I know I talked about a little bit earlier, were the credit card companies like Visa and MasterCard. I know they're not really doing too much now. They started pulling back a little bit, which is not the best, but I know that I've also been eyeing up, Mike, a lot of these slower moving stocks lately, like Coca-Cola, for example. I've been really eyeing these up, and it looks like Coca-Cola is having a pretty good day today. I know today was they paid out a dividend, but looks like the stock is going up. It's up 1.7%. I will say on the daily chart, even Coke started dipping down last week, Mike. A lot of these safer plays even turned over. So maybe we'll start to see a move back up with these. I know that sometimes if we start to see kind of like what we are today, some of these growth stocks like Tesla, Enphase, Run, some of these solar companies are going down. Sometimes, these slower movers end up holding up a little bit better, and it looks like KO is doing pretty good. So I'm happy to see that. I also have Triple M in the green today as well, which is nice. And, they're not up a lot. They're up 2%, but that's pretty good for some of these slower movers.
Yeah, that's true. Even plays like Walmart normally do pretty well in times of, I guess you can just say, well, how would you word it, Tom? Just a slowdown in the overall market? Or
yeah, there's just a slowdown going on. It's obviously we've been selling off a lot with these bigger growth stocks lately, and I feel like that a lot of the bigger money obviously probably has been maybe getting into some of these other safer companies, obviously. And I feel like even a lot of retail traders, Mike, lately have probably been, kind of learning their lesson maybe and kind of getting into some of these safer plays. I feel like that we've been seeing, a lot of these companies do pretty well, kind of like Coca-Cola and stocks like that over the past few months. I will say, obviously, last week wasn't the best for Coke, but in general, it's been holding up very well over the past year or so.
All right. Yeah, the banks are doing pretty well too today. I know you mentioned them earlier, but the banks are kind of holding up the market right now. While we have the S&P 500 mixed, as we have Apple in the red, Tesla in the red, oil pretty deep in the red relative to other stocks. We have, of course, the vaccine companies on the rise, but then also the banking stocks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, even Visa and MasterCard, and then, of course, Wells Fargo and the rest of them. But they are definitely holding up the market today, which is good to see. Some plays that are standing out are, trying to see, Microsoft is one of the big tech stocks that are in the green along with Facebook, so that's good to see.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, I'm glad to see Facebook in the green like that. That's awesome. I hope they keep recovering, Mike. It's been a long time since we've been able to say Facebook has started to bounce back up. So hopefully we see a nice recovery. I'm not too certain that this is going to be the bottom yet. I really hope it is, but man, I know Facebook has been definitely going through one heck of a swing, Mike, and they've even been changing their company around and stuff like that. So I know that's going to play a big role too. I really like what they've talked about with the metaverse and stuff. I know that the metaverse isn't really out yet, and there's not too many good examples to look at. But from what I've seen in like certain games and stuff like that, I will say it's definitely going to be interesting. And I know I've been seeing a lot of younger people really getting into it, so that's good to see. But yeah, I mean, Facebook's doing well, like you mentioned. I'm trying to find some other tech plays that are like in the green, Mike. Like I know a lot of these tech plays aren't doing the best today. I know, like you mentioned earlier, like Apple was in the red still. Yeah, it looks like as far as tech, like Facebook is really leading the way. I know Twitter is coming back a little bit. It's up 1.6%. Maybe we'll see Facebook and Twitter start to move up in sympathy with each other. That would make for some really good movement out of the social media stocks.
Yep. All right. So then Head just tagged us in discussion saying, or just showing some of the sweeps. So yeah, that's awesome. But keep in mind that does not mean that the smart money is buying those options. And then he said, let's talk about what you think about the interest rate hike this week. It just depends. I mean, we can say anything, but it really means nothing. Like it just depends on what Powell says. Like there are too many variables until we have the Fed conference. Like I can say I think Powell might do this or that, but Powell's just going to do whatever he wants, and then the market is going to react however it wants. So we'll see what happens there. But Tom, looking at just the overall market, given the FOMC press conference this week, we still have the VIX definitely elevated. It's still above 30, which is pretty big. And then VXX is still lingering right around like $26 a share too. So the market is definitely pricing in volatility this week, which is, I guess you can say, good and bad.
Yeah, it's definitely good and bad, like you said. I really think that the FOMC meeting is going to be a big deal right now. I know that the Fed is expected to raise rates by 0.25%. A lot of people previously had said that they were expecting the Feds to raise it by 0.5%, but now stuff's going on with Russia causing uncertainty and stuff like that. So obviously the market is going to be expecting a 0.25% increase now. It's kind of insane to see how much the sentiment keeps changing week by week, Mike. It seems like anytime a big event or something drops, it just totally changes the sentiment around. I know that Russia was a big deal, and hopefully we see them stay out of the headlines because this FOMC meeting is going to be pretty big, I think. Obviously Powell, like they're expected to raise rates, and it might help some banks, Mike. Like I wonder if banks are running today because, they might be kind of like pricing in this rate hike here. I know that banks have been waiting for this for a long time, and recently we've been seeing like JP Morgan really sell off to the downside. So maybe we'll start to finally see these banks go back on an uptrend here.
All right. Adam said, can you guys cover MULN? Yeah, we covered this one earlier today. It can pop up. It's a very small company. It's literally moving up today because the company announced that it was featured on CarBuzz. Like, that's why the stock's up 30%. So it's just one of those risky small plays. It's not really for me, but it moves a lot. It's volatile, but not really for me.
Yeah, it's just not for me either. It's a newer EV company, and obviously it can go all over the place. I'm glad it's up 40%, or well, it was up 40-something percent. I'm glad it's moving for everybody, and I hope it makes for some nice day trades. I just won't be an investor in this one yet. Obviously a few years down the road, if they start to get going and they have good production and stuff like that, I'll definitely look at getting in. But look at what we've been seeing lately, Mike. I mean, poor old Rivian. I mean, we're all the way back down to $35. Let's look at the 1-year daily chart here. I mean, I know that MULN is running up 40% day by day, but I mean, it could definitely turn back over. I know I know it's not like Rivian or anything like that. It's only $2 a share, but my whole point is just that these EV companies have a long way to go, and even the more established ones are having issues. So hopefully we see a turnaround out of that whole sector. And I feel like that, like lately, Mike, we've been seeing so many new EV companies. It's like really starting to saturate that market.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a lot of giant competitors already in the space. Of course, Tesla and a lot of other companies, but all these like traditional car manufacturers, whether it's Ford, GM, Porsche, I know Bentley's making an EV, and all these other major companies, Toyota. So it's definitely a crowded market at this point. So we'll see what happens. But Tom, do you have any final plays you're watching?
Honestly, not too much today. I'm really going to keep my eye on the SPY, though. I'm really happy with the way it's turning back up. I'm hoping to see like Apple and stocks like that continue back, because that pre-market move today was pretty bad or pretty nasty. Hopefully Apple gets back up above 154. I think that's going to be a bit of a resistance that I'm eyeing up here. But I'm really watching these bigger tech plays. I know you mentioned Facebook earlier was having a nice day. I'm definitely keeping them on the radar too. If they continue to run, I think that could make for a pretty nice trade. The way Facebook's been falling down, they're only up 2% today. I think they could have a bigger move, especially with, we've been seeing them go down sometimes 5 or 10% in one day. So I think we could see Facebook possibly keep recovering here. That's a nice thing to look at. But out of the overall market, Mike, I mean, my watch list is just so split down the middle. Like some stocks, like the vaccine stocks and the banks, are really running up. And then we have some accelerated moves to the downside out of stocks like Enphase, FSLR, stocks like that started really turning over this morning. So I hope to see growth keep recovering up, Mike, because it's been a pretty bad morning. I know DraftKings was all the way down to like $15.50 at the low this morning, and it's not really recovering up too much. I know we saw stocks like Zoom doing better, but DraftKings is really lagging. So I'm hoping that we just see this nice continuation back. It's been a long time since we've seen some nice movement, and hopefully this week we see some nice green momentum, Mike. I know those FOMC meetings are going to be big, and hopefully it changes the sentiment around.
Yeah, for sure. Historically, Powell has done a pretty good job at pumping the market, but we'll see what he can do this week. I know the market desperately needs them this week, so hopefully he comes in strong. But before we close out, I just want to personally thank everyone for joining. So thank you so much, Michael, Hunter, Mike, Vicky, Bill, Troy, Sean, Head, and Adam for joining. We had a pretty good stream today. The market is okay. It's not the best, not the worst, but we definitely have some potential for a good week. So again, thank you guys so much for joining.